Welcome everybody to Thursday afternoon. We're going to talk about 5 things that students want you to know. I am so glad you're all here. You're all partners with Mentor Collective. You're all doing great mentorship work on campus. And the opportunity to come together and have a conversation about it is always one I am very happy to participate in. I am Shannon LeCount. Hello. I've been at Mentor Collective for about 4 years, and I work on strategic projects. So when we start to think about special design or digging into data, I get to be part of that. The reason I get to be part of that is I've been in higher ed for 20 years now. I was a faculty member for a long time, and then I worked in institutional effectiveness, and now I get to do this great student success work, and I get to share these details with you. So I'm Shannon at mentorcollective.org if you ever want to communicate with me. But other than that, it's not about me. Let me start off, in addition to welcoming you, to just giving you some best practices for these type of events. You may have been here before. We have them often, and we have a lot of return audience members that we're super happy about. You're muted on entry, but as you can see, some people will be able to unmute and say hello, and that's great. I love when you have your camera on. I understand there are reasons that you don't, but I feed off reactions, and working from home is fairly lonely. So to be able to see people moving, moving is kind of nice. I will tell you, I also am allergic to cats, but I love them. So when Zoom kitties show up on calls like this, I am very happy to see Zoom kitties. I will also warn you, I have a young and very cuddly dog, so you may see a big tiger striped head pop up while I'm talking at some point if we're lucky. Feel free to share your name and your institution and anything you've been working on or your experience with Mentor Collective in the chat. Mackenzie, who is my partner in this, will be monitoring the chat because I'm very bad at that, but she's very good at letting me know if something shows up in there. And of course, audience engagement. So you can ask questions along the way. I will try to get them to them as much as possible. I want to keep this to about a half hour so that because I respect everybody's time and I understand where we are in the week and the semester and all of that. But it's also good to have an opportunity to have a conversation. So please submit your questions. I also have a ton of great colleagues on this call with me who probably will answer the questions even better than me. So they'll be watching the chat as well. Javi, you're on my screen, so I'm going to reference you a lot, and thank you for being there to answer the questions. Okie doke. Here's a little disclaimer as we come into this presentation. Often when we're talking about mentorship, and I know that many of you, the partners that are on the call today, are really focused on retention, right? We have mentorship programs on our campuses because we want to retain and we want to have as many successful students as possible. We think about retention. Retention is a scale type of metric, right? We're looking at a whole class and seeing how many stick around. It's also important to think about persistence, and that happens one student at a time, right? A student persists from one semester to the next, and hopefully to the end, up the end of their college career with a successful certificate or degree. The things that we do between when a student says they want to have a mentor and the ways we measure the success of the program at the end, those actions, the ways we use the data and the way we work with those students, that's what affects both retention and persistence. And today we're going to talk about the individual interventions. So yes, some of the things I'm going to suggest may be difficult at scale, but that's not because we're trying to make a difference with everybody. Mentorship programs are successful for the majority of people. We want them to be successful for everybody. So I'm going to talk today about data that students are giving us that we can intervene with them individually or in small groups and in manageable ways so that we can make a difference for those students who need it. So there's my disclaimer. If you were like, oh, I wanted to talk about scale today, then I will not feel bad if you go, but I really hope you stay. Okie doke. So many of you, because again, you are partners, may have seen that we asked you to verify the outcomes or the measures of impact that are important to you to have a mentorship program on campus. And one, I want to thank you for responding to that survey if you did. It really makes a difference for us and it helps us decide who the ways that we can share information along the way because it's important for us to know what's important to you. But two, I get to share today what the top items were, or how most of you all have said that you would like to measure impact. Fostering a sense of belonging is a big one, and I don't think that would surprise anyone. There's the big old retention word that everybody wants to have an impact on retention with the mentorship program. And also, we want resources on campus to be used as much as possible, and recognize that mentorship is one of the ways that we can get students to use those resources. I am happy to say that all 5 data points that we're going to talk about today will in some way or another impact belonging or retention or increase use of resources if we use those data and we respond to them in the way we can. So we're aligned in mission for sure. And I feel good about that. So here's the first thing to share with you, or that students want you to know. And the reason I have called this, or Mackenzie, because she's the wordsmith, has called this what students want you to know, is that everything I'm presenting today is what students have self-reported. So this isn't us mining data, scraping data, finding out information through other means about students. This is you all saying to your students, we want to put this program together, and we can have a better program if you share information. And students are saying, yes, I'm willing to share this information. This is what I want you to know about me, so that it can be authentic. And wouldn't you know it, students have goals for mentorship. Just like campuses have goals for mentorship, students have goals for mentorship. But they are not retention and fostering belonging and using resources. They're more personal, but they're aligned, as you'll see. If any of you received our impact report, again, shout out to Mackenzie, because she had a role in getting all that information out to you. In 2023, we took a look at the top 3 goals that students say yes to mentorship for. And it's because they want to talk to a mentor about succeeding in classes. They want to develop a healthy lifestyle. They want to improve time management skills. You'll notice there's academic goals there. There's personal goals there. There's, I would say, professional goals there and time management. So it can really run the gamut on why students are saying yes to mentorship. So we as campuses will have goals for the program, but students have their own goals, and there's ways that we can align with that and make sure we check in. What you're looking at here is some random data from career-focused goals on the white side of the screen, and on the blue side of the screen, it's more of a college-focused program, if you will, like a first-year program. And you'll see that the top goals, or what people want out of mentorship, are very different. Not what people want, what mentees want out of mentorship is very different. And just to make sure, excuse me, I have a Zoom window in my way, but I'm okay now. To make sure that you know where to find this information, from your dashboard, you are able to go to participant traits, and it's here that you'll find mentee goals. So you have this information, and it's a really good opportunity to just check in every once in a while, or not an opportunity, it's a good practice to check in every once in a while and say, what do the students in our program care about? Succeeding in classes, that's awesome. Do we have the resources in place so they know where to get help to succeed in classes, in addition to talking to their mentor? Time management, I have a resource for that. Let's make sure we share that. So this is a great way of just getting a quick aggregate view. If you were to click on a list, and right here I'm going to go into jobs and intern, or click on the data, it will take you immediately to a list of students who have said that that's an important goal for them. There is a reason I chose jobs and internships here. Most first-year programs, when we're focusing on transfer students and students who are coming into campus for the first time, are focused on belonging and all of those things that help students become successful in college in their first and subsequent years. They are not typically focused on procuring an internship for them, right? Like that, there are lots of ways on campus that you can help students get those internships, but those aren't often the focus of the program. If you have resources on campus, like a career center or an intern office, it is great to click on this goal, get this list of students, and share it with those folks whose job it is to find internships, to let them know that they have students who are interested in finding an internship. Now, personally, you don't need to know this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I'm a speech pathologist by trade, and my program specifically has internships built into the clinical study of it. So procuring an internship wasn't something I needed to do. but that doesn't mean I wouldn't have gotten ramped up about it among my peers who are looking for an internship. So another way of using this information would not just be to give it to the office or to have someone help them find an internship, but to maybe further filter this list down to specific majors so that you can see students who are in majors where an internship would really help them. Maybe they can get special messaging. Maybe you can send them a micro survey asking them more about what they're interested in. Or again, just share this with the advisors in that major to help students understand what the process is in getting there. So again, we're not talking about intervening with hundreds or thousands of students. We're just saying, hey, there's some students who have a focus where with a little bit of work, we could give them a little nudge into what they're trying to achieve here and help them out, in addition to encouraging them to talk about to their mentors about it. I'm taking a breath and I'm letting the chat build up. If you have any questions or comments, or boy, if you have stories about using this chart, it sure would be great. So let me just go through again what you can do when in response to the fact that students are telling you what their goals are for the program. First of all, verify your design. Take a look at the reasons that you as a campus have decided to have mentorship and make sure that it aligns with what students want. And if not, you can adjust. Confirm that the populations you are targeting with your mentorship program are indeed signing up and having goals that align with the program. And in cases like internships or advisors in certain campuses or financial aid offices, any of those people who might be able to help the students a little bit further based on what their goals are, what their interests are, make sure that you invite those stakeholders to either have access to the dashboard or share that information with them. The other thing is honor your mentees' intentions. They are saying that they have a reason for being here, and as a partner of Mentor Collective, there's that opportunity to share content and be able to directly message students with the content that may help them. Make sure that that content is available to them, and that at minimum, letting mentors know that that's something they can use in their conversations with mentees. So that's point number one. Let's move on to number two. Two is students will actually share their feelings of belonging. Sometimes. They won't necessarily tell administrators if they feel like they belong or not. If the college president was standing in front of me, I'd probably say I really like this campus. Or I might be one of those sassy students who says, decides to complain about all the things I want to complain about. But most of the time, students are willing to express whether they belong or not. But they'll either do it anonymously, and what I mean by, or not anonymously, but to chatbots or to assessment surveys that ask them about their belonging, or they will talk to their peers about it, and in this case, their peer mentor about it. So this is a great, a mentorship program is a great way of checking in on if students are belonging or not. Just to be clear, I'm sure everyone on here knows it, but as a reminder, students are formally asked about their feelings of belonging 3 times during a program, usually at the start of it and at the end and some point in the middle. If you wonder about when those happen for your program, or if you don't know, your consultant will definitely be able to help you with that information. So just for a second, let's visit some of the success factor data that came from 2023. If you look at the bottom of this, you'll see that students' sense of belonging is pretty high, right? It's measured on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being I really feel like I belong here. And this is data that came from the start of program surveys. So every time a student was first starting a mentorship program and usually first coming to campus, we'd ask them about their sense of belonging. And only 9% of students reported a low factor or a low sense of belonging. That makes it really workable, right? Most students feel like they belong, but hey, there's 9% that are indicating they don't, and they're telling us this. What can we do for them, right? How can we help change that sense of belonging? Again, don't get overwhelmed by how many it is. It's usually just a few. So we can be a little bit more targeted and a little bit more specific for those students. I borrowed this information from the Annie E. Casey Foundation. You will get this presentation as a follow-up to being here today, and I encourage you to click on the link. It's a great blog. And you may already know all these things, but these are ways that we can foster belonging. A lot of this is built into the Mentor Collective partnership. So making first impressions, that is built into the Mentor Collective platform, helping students be seen and heard and affirmed. When we ask students to share something about themselves and they can see that we have responded to what they have shared about themselves, that can go a long way to both having honest information, continuing to get honest information, but also helping people feel like they belong. Giving them that agency to speak or give them their student voice and making sure that it's focused on well-being and not just making them assimilate to the college way of being, right? But actually meet people where their culture and their ways of being are. I will reference at some point in this that I am a first generation student, so a lot of this resonates with me because there was some lack of belonging that I felt when I entered academia many, many years ago. So let me tell you, if you're as partners with Mentor Collective, mentor training includes how to do authentic, meaningful introductions. So we try to address belonging even through preparation of the mentors. Matches are guided by mentee preferences, right? What's important to them is what is considered in the match. That goes towards belonging. And then there are guides and ways of directly sharing flags. We ask about in the assessment framework, and all of this information is shared with the mentor. So there's a lot of authenticity and humanity in helping students feel like they belong. Again, there's a link in this presentation, and I highly encourage you to look at it. This book right here on my bookshelf was co-edited by Gavin Henning, who also was a keynote speaker at the National Symposium of Retention. And that little green star there are two of the biggest suggestions I took away from him on how to help with belonging. And that's about communicating or inviting students to identity-based and discipline-based engagement opportunities. So it helps promote social belonging if there are opportunities on campus that align with identity, and it helps with academic belonging to partake in activities that are around their academic life or their discipline. So let me show you for a sec how easy it would be to do that. I'm going to pop into the dashboard again. And for those of you who are familiar and often dealing or working with your Mentor Collective data, you'll see in an alert that there's often a place where there is, or you'll find out where you'll have an alert to students who may have a low score, or it's not a score. They have rated themselves low in a particular area, success factor area, in this case, sense of belonging. You'll notice that in our demo site, we have hundreds of students, but only 15 have reported a low sense of belonging. So again, we're not talking about a huge amount of students here. One of the tips I'm going to give you is if it doesn't automatically filter to program status, I recommend filtering down to the match students, because you're filtering down to the list of students, not all who have been invited, but the people who are actually actively participating and actively connected to a mentor in their program. Now we're down to 14 students who have said they had a low sense of belonging. And here's the deal. Let's invite these students to identity-based or discipline-based activities. There's clubs and organizations around disciplines all over, and there are many different identities that are represented in clubs and organizations as well. You can blanket send it out to all mentees. It's great if they know about those things, but to have a personalized invitation or a specific email or text or message that goes to them because you identified what their top academic interest is and wanted to let them know what activities are available to them, or if you use an identity area like language to say we have these groups where this language is spoken and you could participate in that, it goes a long way to both knowing that those things exist and being personally invited to them. And it's really easy to know who could use that invitation if you use the dashboard. So that's my tip number 2, based on students sharing their feelings of belonging. We've got 3 more to go, and I promise we're not going to go over the time limit. So the other thing that students are sharing with us is they have vast life experiences. It's really easy to say 18-year-olds come to college, they're all excited, their parents are all paying for it, and they're going to have a great time and graduate in 4 years. We know that's not the case, right? But it's really hard to know what type of things students have experienced in their life leading up to their participation in the mentorship program. These are from 2023. We looked at students who have told us their top life challenges. A lot of them struggle with debt, and there's a lot of caring for family members or dealing with things that have happened to them personally. Here's what you can do to find out information here. If you go to the participants page in your dashboard, you can easily filter by challenges. And again, this is where you can start to invite the other support services that are available for students on campus. For example, if someone has dealt with a learning disability, they should probably know about the disability services that are available to them. Or if they've reported a challenge that they currently have children, they're probably going to want to know about any sort of childcare resources or policies on campus for missing class when you have children, any of those kind of things. This is all really affirming information for them, and it's really easy to find out who could use that information without blanket sending to everybody. So please, if you can, use that challenge filter to identify how you can support students who have said that they've had these experiences along the way. Now, it's not just life challenges that students are reporting. Students also as part of the mentorship program, are sharing what they're interested in, what matters to them. That typically gets shared through the matching survey. So you have all this data available to you, which you may or may not know about. So the way that students' interests tend to show up is, again, in the partner dashboard. Mentor or mentees can say, sorry about looking at the side of my face here while I navigate my demo site. Under participant traits, you're going to see the top matching criterion. These are the things that students say are important to them in having a mentor. And you'll often see that it's that they have similar career interests, similar academic interests, or similar personal interests. And again, this is a good way of narrowing down a number of students, then providing resources. If they wanted a mentor who had the same career interests, and you filtered down to those specific careers and invited both a mentor and the mentee to activities that are around that career or around that discipline, you're going to benefit both the mentors and the mentees, because while mentors have been around a while, doesn't mean they know everything, and they like an invitation too. So it's really important for them to know that. One of the other things I was showing you in the slide here, though, is that you do have access to the number of students who are interested in studying abroad, or interested in Greek life, or really concerned about how they're going to figure out what they want to do with their life. This information you may not know that this is available to you, because right now, the best way to get that information in a quick and easy way is to export the matching data. So what you're looking at right now is an export of the matching survey. Let me show you where that comes from. In the exports, you can export the matching survey. It will download for you. And under the column that's titled "Tell us about yourself," this is where they'll tell you, hey, I want to study abroad. Again, make a list of those people and give that to the study abroad office. Do you know how happy they will be to get a list of students who have already indicated that they want to participate in their program? That's boosting campus resources. It's hearing students, affirming what they're saying is important to them, and connecting with them and giving them that personal connection. Also, for students who say, I might not know how to choose my career, that's a good list to send to the career services office or whoever on your campus supports that. So again, it's not a ton of extra work for you all, but it goes a long way towards those offices being further utilized and students getting exactly what they need based on what they told you they needed. So here's what you can do. Mine there's one other thing I wanted to show you. When you look at any individual participant, let me filter down to mentees first, please. If you look at any participant, you will be able to see in their matching survey. Sorry, I picked a bad example here, matched. In their data, you'll see that they completed the matching survey and everything they had to say is there for you in their profile. So if you are working with a specific student and you want to see all of the information that they shared in the matching survey, and let me tell you, they really share things there, this is a great way of getting a really good picture of an individual student. It's that export you use when you want a list of everybody who said the same thing about something, right? So I don't want to make you an Excel spreadsheet wonder and say you always have to use the export, but there are two different ways of accessing this information, and depending on what your goal is there, one way is easier than the other. So mind that matching survey for the things you want, share curated lists when you can, and also know that micro surveys are great as a follow-up to this type of information. So if you wanted to send to mentees, several of you have said you're interested in study abroad, where would you want to study, right? Or what are your reasons for that? You could also just ask a simple question: who here is interested in undergraduate research, to further give them opportunities down the road? So using that information to just look at it, think about how you could use it, share lists, and then ask further questions if you have them is a great way. There's one other thing, because this touched me more than anything. In that matching survey export, there's another column where it says, what's one short-term thing that you would like your mentor to help you with? And this is not the only time I've seen this, but this is the sweetest thing in the world. Someone coming into college who has said yes to a mentor said, I want to know, how does college work? Let's talk to this person, right? I'm going to call it a woman. I don't know if it was or not, but let's talk to her. Let's say to her, we heard you. This is a great question. There are a number of ways for you to know that, and having a peer mentor is a great one, but let's go a little bit further with that, because we don't want to put all that on the mentor. So make sure that you just peek at that matching survey, because there's some really great information in there. It's honest, like you can feel the humanity when you look at those results. So I encourage you all to do that. One more, everybody, hang in there with me. So the last thing is, students are honest, but they in telling you what they won't do. So, so there is a question in the start of in the assessment surveys that is part of the academic help seeking set of questions. And one of them is, how likely are you to meet with your advisors in the next 6 months? And these data come from the last year. When in response to how likely are you to meet with your advisor in the next 6 months, submitted at the beginning of the year, 14% said, I am not likely. We spend so much money in our campuses on advisors. We put so much responsibility on the advising relationship, and 14% of the students aren't going to show up because they might not feel comfortable doing it. They might not know why they want to do it. Who knows? But this is really valuable information to get. And if you're wondering where you can find this information, it is again on your dashboard. Under the assessments heading, you can look at all, both sense of belonging, academic self-efficacy, and academic help seeking. You can filter to that information. And when you look at help seeking, you are going to see that question. It's also how frequently do you intend to talk to your faculty? Do you intend to talk to your advisors? Look at where there's a lot of students who are saying, no, I don't think I'm going to. And reach out to them and help them understand why it's really beneficial for them to do that, right? It's not an obligation, it's good for them. Now, I gave you a little heads up that I'm a first generation student, and that I also work on some of the research projects around here. And so recently I came across this article about first generation students and academic help seeking behaviors, the things they do to make them to help themselves be academically successful based on all the support systems that are on campus. And this quote resonated with me so much. First generation students aren't broken, but we're used to getting stuff done ourselves, right? We're used to being in a room, maybe full of people, especially on campus, where we don't necessarily feel like we belong, and we we made it here, but we're used to getting through academic situations probably on our own, or we're very confused about what's available to us. This study, and I have given you the reference in this article as well, said that first generation students are more likely to use the services that are designed to help them academically when the potential providers were accessible. So let's talk about time and when they're available, and they have clearly designated roles. I will tell you personally, and I don't think I'm alone in this, one of the reasons I never visited any support services on campus, again, it was many years ago, but still, is because I didn't know what they did, right? I didn't know what the titles were. And so it's something as simple as, let's send out a message that says, do you know a bursar can help you with your tuition bill? You know, like if I have a problem with my tuition bill and I don't know who to ask, I'm more likely to leave campus than look up what a bursar is, right? Or ask someone and feel dumb. So not that I would be dumb, but this is the things that can keep like the tiny things that can make a difference, and if students feel comfortable enough. So the last demo I'm going to show you is how to find this information. Again, if you want to look at all of the students who are participating in your program, you can go to the participants tab. My tip to you earlier was, if your view hasn't already filtered down to match students, it's good to go down to the match students, because these are the people that are active in your program. I don't want to discount, though, that all of the students who are not matched are also, it's valuable information to know. These are students who had the option to have a peer mentor and for whatever reason opted out. They may have opted out because it wasn't important to them and they didn't need it, or they may have opted out because they didn't know why it was valuable to them. So again, this like don't discount that list of students. There's probably work you can do there. That's a webinar for another day. But for these participants, these are all matched students. And you can go further to filter. If you go down to the assessment data, you can filter to who has completed the start of program assessments. So it filters down to only people who have responded to the assessment surveys. And then the next filter I suggest is to pick one of those success factors, either academic help seeking, academic self-efficacy, sense of belonging, whatever you're trying to answer about. In this case, I only have access to self-efficacy data, and look at who had a lower score. In this case, I'm going to say less than 3, or a lower self-rating. This will tell you exactly who has lower self-rating in that area. And if we were looking at help seeking, I would go one step further and say, and who is first generation, because I want to make sure that they understand the support services that are available to them. Good news, in our demo environment, there are no first generation students with low academic self-efficacy scores. So I can't share you any lists today, and that's great, right? Success, everybody has the information they want. But that's just one way, again, of using the information and the things that students tell us about themselves. So again, I shared that belonging article from the Annie E. Casey Foundation. I shared the details for that research article on first generation students and academic help seeking. And then also the co-editor of this book and his keynote address are available in the link. You can see the whole keynote address. I highly recommend it. It's great. I recommend the book and I recommend the keynote address. I hope that this has inspired you to look at a few of those things. But those were the 5 things that students wanted you to know. I'm happy to ask Mackenzie, were there any questions that came up in the chat along the way?
Thank you so much, Shannon. Those tips were so helpful. There are no additional questions in the chat right now. Some have been answered around our assessment surveys about the mining the matching survey. Thank you to the MC folks on the line who were jumping in. So if there's any other questions, feel free to come off mute and ask, or add them in the chat with our few moments left.
I'm not good at monitoring the chat, but Nina, your kind words just popped up in front of my face. So thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining, and thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it. Everybody, it's Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. Enjoy it. I really appreciate you taking this time with us. All right. Bye, everyone.